Azimut has a reputation for building some of the most stylish flybridge yachts around, and this new 82 Fly is no exception. It has been designed by star designer Alberto Mancini and has an interior by Fabio Fantolino, and it is every bit as cool as you would expect. So I'm going to give you a full tour. My name is Hugo Andre, you're watching Motorboat and Yachting. Let's go and tour it. Azimut was one of the first companies to adopt this sort of semi-vertical bow. So the top section is almost vertical, the bottom section is more conventionally shaped, and that ensures it performs much like a traditional sloping bow in that it projects the water out, gives you a nice clean passage through the water. Now we've got lots of big hull windows down the side. You can see them sort of stepping down to the different levels. Plenty of glass on the main deck. Cut-out bulwarks. Even the engine air intakes are very stylish little recesses. But the real action starts when you get on board. Now, this features their brand new deck-to-deck system. And you can see that effectively, this platform here folds down and becomes the transom and closes in the tender garage. You can see there is a tender garage behind there. They've just got a little curtain down. But when they swing it upright, you get this extension to the cockpit, and you really need to get on board to appreciate that. But before we do that, just worth running through a couple of the statistics. So it's 81 foot long, it's 19 foot wide, it has a draft of about 5 foot 7 inches, and is powered by triple Volvo Penta IPS for speeds of up to about 32 knots if you go for the largest engine size. Now you can see this section is a hydraulic platform that will lower down into the sea. You can just see the rollers for the tender system in there. We've got steps up both sides. I'm going to go this side. It looks like it's a little bit freer. There you can have a peek inside the tender garage if you want to. There's obviously no tender in there at the moment, but you can see the rollers and the tracks that it slides down. Up into this cockpit area, and you can start to get a feeling of just what a difference that new deck-to-deck cockpit extension makes. Now clearly you have to remove all those barriers when it's folded down, but when it's upright it means it's nice and safe and secure, but it gives you a really long cockpit. If I stand at the back here, you get some idea of just how much outdoor space there is in front of you before you even get to the saloon. To make the most of that, they've used side-to-side seating so that you both get a view out both ways, otherwise somebody is facing into the yacht. This is a high-low table. Clearly it's very much in the coffee table mode, but the struts under there will lift it up. These sections fold out, and then you get a full-size dining table here in the cockpit under the shelter of that flybridge overhang. So straight away we start to see the influence of Fabio's design touch. We've got these lovely oval shapes. There's a lot of interplay between different materials, different colours. This is actually the wet bar, but under this edge of it, with that little teak cover, you'll also find the third helm station. So very neatly integrated into the overall fabric of the yacht rather than an afterthought. It's also a wet bar. We've got a little tray there, but you can see there is a sink under there, and we've got fridges and ice makers. Actually, that's the ice maker. That's the bin. I think I saw a fridge over on this side, tucked behind the staircase. You will see there is a fridge there. Right, let's just carry on with a little tour of the decks, because we're going to save the interior. That really is very special. But first, we'll just run along the side deck. You can see we've got gates in the side deck here. Here are those cutaways I mentioned earlier. Great big glass sides to the decks, to the saloon. Little opening window here. We'll see that from inside too. But look at this lovely foredeck lounge we've got here. It's such an important part of boats this size now. They're really working all the spaces hard, and we've got a lovely C-shaped sweep of seating under here, little coffee table, face-to-face seating so you can have a very natural social interaction with a group of friends. We've got the sun awning up overhead, so it's a nice sheltered space, and then sun pads further forward. Really good space for a boat this size. Obviously some nice details here too. We've got cup holders, pop-up lights, all the usual stuff. And then if we come back down this side, just a couple of small steps in the side decks and back into that lovely cockpit area. Let's take a quick tour up on the Flybridge. Lovely curved steps are worth noticing, rather than just a usual boring old straight steps. We've got a nice curved routine. Notice that the steel has all been painted black, just makes it slightly more modern, and again sort of square profile rather than the usual round one. Just adds a little bit of extra design flair. Now, simply monster Flybridge, runs all the way to the back of the boat, so you've got this lovely sort of freestanding area here. This you can fit out with pretty much whatever you want. You could have sun loungers here, got some fairly stylish sort of kidney shaped sofas going on here, coffee tables, but totally up to you how you want to fit it out. Got glass balcony around there. Even here, the mouldings, these have all been, that's actually a moulding rather than steel, but it's painted metallic black. Ties in with the steel carbon poles. Then moving further forward, we get into the kind of more convivial dining and bar areas. Large rectangular shaped table. It's not freestanding, it looks like it's on fixed supports. Rather stylish director's chairs. Again, more of this sort of clever interplay between different materials, like this leather strap, the kind of fabric, and then softer, more textured cushions. This is what they call the American bar, because it's not just a sort of serving wet bar. You can also sit up to it and have a couple of drinks with these tool stools. They are in fact fixed. I thought they might be movable, but they're fixed to the deck, so crew don't have to worry about them if it does get a little bit rough. You can see that over the stern section there is a sun awning, a sort of manual sun awning, and then this moves into the fixed hard top section, so all of this area is fully shaded. You can see we've got speakers set into one of these pillars here. Bar is fully equipped, not just with everything you need to serve drinks, you've also got a grill under here, so you can barbecue your fresh fish. Obviously we've got fridges, ice makers, all the usual stuff, and there's that little American raised platform so you can sit at it and sip your cocktails. Big sunbed area further forward, more of these nice leather sort of belt style straps. Over on this side there's just more storage for covers and so on in this unit here. And then a helm station over to the port side. Twin helm seats, really nice to be able to have someone sitting alongside you. Good that you don't block anybody in. It does mean that you are driving with the throttles and joystick on your left hand rather than your right. Shouldn't really be an issue, but I like the fact that they've brought it quite close to the seat, so it's not a stretch. It's very comfortable to sit here. You can manage the throttles with your left hand, steering with your right, or even your knees for a little more chilled out mode. A couple of good screens. The windscreen itself is quite far forward, but you can see it's got a reverse angle on it, so hopefully that will kick the wind up and over your head. Also worth pointing out that the hardtop has a large sunroof in it, and it's glass anyway, so it lets a certain amount of light through. But if you press the button on the dashboard, it all opens up and you can get proper sunlight flooding through there rather than filtering through that glass screen. Right, let's carry on the tour. Let's get inside because there's some very cool design and stuff going on in there. Drop back down that curving staircase and then move through into the main saloon. Now note how far these glass doors slide across. They tuck away behind that staircase, so you get a really good open connection between the cockpit and the saloon. So moving through into the saloon, this is where those designer touches really start to come to the fore. Got low-level furniture on this side, low-level settee. That is to maximise the views, make sure it doesn't block too much of the view with a tall back. Lots of nice interplay with different materials here. We've got the wooden bands, they act as the table legs, marble surface, little wooden tray on it. More of those leather belts running across it. Lovely soft curves on all the furniture, so you don't scratch your shins or your knees by sort of knocking up against sharp corners. All very natural curved shapes. Big round table, again, really sociable layout. It just means you can chat to everyone rather than feeling you only can really talk to your neighbours. We've got some of the blinds down on this side. Obviously that is a window behind there, but rather nice to be able to give that sort of more filtered glow of light. Just diffuses it a little bit, stops the sun really turning it into a bit of a greenhouse. Exactly the same over on this side. Looks like we might have some storage behind there. Handy place right by the doors. Starting to move forward, some really cool little designer light features. These are the stairs down to the lower cabins. We'll take a look down there in a minute. Look at the size of that window there though. Not sure if they're structural supports or if they're just a little styling feature, but again, really makes something of it. Little side unit here, just a bit more storage. So we've got glasses and so on in here. Azimut are very good at all their detail work. So really nice to see. They've got special little cutouts for all the different shaped glasses and tumblers. And then moving forward, another feature that's quite rare to find on a yacht this size, and that is a day heads. And quite cleverly, they've tucked it in between the main saloon and the helm station. Just means it's a bit of a discreet spot so that you don't feel like you're on display when you run into there. It does of course mean that you have to cross this beautiful carpet, so not really something you're going to be doing with wet feet if you come in from a swim. There is a pocket door in here. Not sure if it might be locked, but I think it's locked, but there's a pocket door that slides across so that if you want to keep the crew separate from the guest areas further aft, you have got the option to do that. Side access onto the side deck directly behind the helm station makes perfect sense. Means that the captain or the skipper can get out and help with lines and fenders and take a view down the side of the yacht. Two very stylish, supportive helm seats. You can see they both bolster up if you want to. You've also got electronic adjustment for both height and reach, I think. There we go. Very stylish foot supports. Very clean design for the helm. Got 3 Garmin screens all flush fitted into that dashboard. Usual controls for the Volvo IPS. There are 3 engines, but of course you only have 2 throttles because effectively the central engine is only providing forward thrust, and it's the 2 side ones that provide the steering. Joystick controls, easy access to all the main switch gears so you don't have to go through electronic menus. The usual stylish Azimut 1-bar wheel, and you have got thrusters as well. So as well as got the IPS controls, you have got independent control of the bow thruster. Now this is the Galley, quite an unusual location for the Galley. So it's alongside the helm. It does mean that if it's a crewed yacht, you can keep the crew all up this end of the boat and the guests all in the guest quarters further aft. Pretty good view from here. There are some quite chunky mullions. You've got a central one here rather than a single piece screen. Quite big side ones. And of course, you have got a view back through that, but only if the door is left open. But there is always that side door onto the side deck if you want to nip out and take a peer down there. Good deep windscreens. It's not like you're peering through a letterbox as it can be on some boats. Rather a nice little companion seating here. Again, more like to be used by the crew, but it does mean that they've got somewhere to sit and hang out during the day rather than having to be stuck down below. American style fridge freezer. Cooking facilities, induction hob, oven, sink, wine cooler. One other thing I wanted to point out, this isn't just a helm seat, it's also a really stylish storage unit. So if I pull open one of these drawers, you'll see you've got all your little espresso cups and your serving dishes. Much the same under here. Very nice fine bone china, full set of crockery. Carries on too. Here we've got coffee mugs. Here we've got bowls, serving bowls. There's more mugs in that one. But even though it's effectively a crew area, they've done that so beautifully. It's something I'd want to show off to my guests, not necessarily keep tucked away. Now, intriguingly, this is also access down to the crew cabin. So unusually the crew are forward. Usually it's closer to the stern on a boat like this, but let's just pop down and we can take a little look. So it's a long curving corridor that wraps around towards the bow. And here are the beds themselves. You've got one along this port side and then two bunk style over on the starboard side. And the reason it's such an unusual shape is that behind that bulkhead there is in fact the forward VIP. So we'll see how that works in a minute. But it's quite unusual. But I like the fact that because of that long corridor, it just feels like you've got a bit more space. And of course you have got windows, so it's much less claustrophobic and you're not sort of tucked in next to the engine room. It should be a little bit quieter, a bit more natural light, a bit more fresh air, some decent storage on either side down here. And there is, behind this door here, there is of course a bathroom and a separate shower area. So it's quite nice that that too is sort of a bit further from the sleeping area than is often the case in a stern-based crew cabin. But let's go and take a look at the guest spaces, and that will start to make a bit more sense when you see the shape of the forward VIP. So back into the main saloon, and then we start to drop down another curved staircase down into the lower deck. So let's go aft first into the full beam mid cabin. This is the master cabin. And this is where Mr. Fantolini's design genius really starts to come to the fore. We've got loads of different surfaces going on here. We've got lacquered, sort of maroon coloured lacquered bit, got a little pop-up vanity unit. That all slides away under that marble surface there. More of these oval shapes. Change in surface from the marble to the wood as we get to the storage unit. Lovely lacquered drawers here, all beautifully lit and lined. Little safe under there for your valuables. And then a full standing walk-in wardrobe over in this corner. More shelves, drawers. Yet more textures going on here. We've got sort of Alcantara suede effect bed head. Quite low level bed. This is below knee level for me. But it means that there's that much more space above it. It gives a slightly more sort of open feeling. It feels that much more voluminous. Headroom is probably about 6 foot 6 inches, I would say. But because the bed is low, it feels like there's more than that because there's all that extra volume above it. Little settee over on this side. Small shelf, could probably use that as a desk area, although frankly you've already got one over on that side. More little art feature. I presume that there could be a TV, or I can't see one anywhere on this. I'm sure there is an option for a TV, but I'm guessing that would be mounted on that bulkhead there if you wanted one. Of course, there is an ensuite bathroom. That's tucked round on the starboard side. Twin sinks, nice to have. Bidet and a toilet. And again, by having that little curved section there and stealing a little bit of space from the sleeping area, it feels a more generous shape and a bit of a more natural shape. Often it can feel a bit like a corridor when you've got a bathroom tucked behind the beds. But because they've stolen a little bit of the space from the cabin, it's actually a much more, it's not squarer shape, but there's a bit more depth, a bit more interest rather than just a long, thin corridor. It's moving back out. We'll take a look at some of the guest cabins. Hopefully it's not too busy down here. So moving forward through the boat, on the port hand side, we've got the first of the guest cabins. This is a twin. Probably the most notable thing about this is just how big the hull windows are along this section. So it's almost the full length of the bed. There's a large opening section so you can get fresh air in there. Got decent headroom, certainly up until this sort of point here, there's a good, exactly the same, probably 6'6" at the entrance, drops a little bit, but actually that's still really very good. Just have to crouch a tiny bit moving under there, but plenty of room to sit up in bed. We've got a locker space behind the bathroom door, good hanging wardrobe, and a really good sized bathroom too. Sinker over on the port side, toilet inboard, and then I'm not sure which way that opens. I'm not going to push that just in case it's meant to pull rather than push, but you can probably see there's a sort of teak seat over on one side, got an opening porthole, plenty of natural light in there, overhead shower. Really good sized bathroom, particularly given that this is effectively the third or fourth cabin. Almost a mirror image. This one is fitted up with a double bed. This does taper just a little bit around the foot there, but it's still a very generous sized bed, certainly king size at one end, just tapers a little bit towards the foot. Full standing headroom all the way up to this little section here, but actually because you've got your bedside units here, you're not actually going to walk along underneath there anyway, so plenty of room to sit up in bed. More of that lovely interplay between textures. You've got the Alcantara, the fabric, the wood, the light features, a couple of reading lights either side of it. Decent sized hull window. Equally generous ensuite bathroom. Once again with its own window and opening porthole. Decent sized sink. So often you come on these boats and they've got some very stylish little designer glass bowl. Hopelessly impractical. Water goes everywhere, always looks dirty. This looks like a much better solution. Storage underneath. Good sized shower. And then the VIP. Now this is where you start to make sense of that curving long corridor on the crew cabin, because on my left hand side here, this is a crew, that corridor leading down to the crew cabin is running along there. But it leaves space for quite an unusual forward VIP. Rather than having an island berth right in the bow facing aft, we've got the berth over on the starboard side, hard against the hull, looking in towards the boat. And actually having that curve feels perfectly natural in here because you've got all those sort of fluid lines throughout the rest of the boat. It just makes for a bit of a change rather than that island berth that you have to step up either side. It does mean you've got flat floor all the way around the bed. You've got a lovely big window up above the pillows. Curved units either side, very smartly done. It's like they frame the bed. Does mean that there's quite a long stretch of bulkhead without any windows over on this side that you would of course get if it was a full beam forward VIP, but by mounting the television behind a mirror there, integrating that into a bit of a sort of art unit, it all looks like it's part of the design rather than just a long bare strip of bulkhead that would otherwise look a little bit dull. But I think that's quite an interesting solution. I like the fact you've got a flat floor. I like all these curves. And of course you've got an ensuite bathroom here too. Once again, with an opening porthole, decent amount of natural light. That same marble, good sized rectangular sink. Loo in the corner. Usual walk-in shower with a rain shower head overhead. Just nice to see something a little bit different. So often boats like this can feel rather formulaic and it all begins to blend into each other and becomes a little bit of a sort of bland Me Too look and feel. This looks and feels very different and all the more stylish for it. Right, back up onto the main deck. Access to the engine room is either via this stern entrance or there is a hatch in the cockpit if you need to drop down without coming out onto the bathing platform. Steps down into it, fairly steep, they nearly always are. But then once you get down in here, space isn't too bad. Now you can see that is the moulding for the tender garage, and I'm told that will take a 3.9 metre Williams jet tender. Now, I mentioned earlier it is triple IPS drive, so you can see the IPS pods here. This is the port one, then you've got the middle one, the starboard one. That middle one is fixed, it's just the two outside ones that steer. And here are the engines themselves. This has got the larger IPS 1350, so they're 1,000 horsepower each. Volvo call them 1350 because they say it's equivalent to the power of a 1,000 horsepower shaft drive boat, but the extra efficiency of those pod drives means it's equivalent to about 1350 horsepower shaft drives. So that's the ladder coming down from the cockpit hatch. And if we shimmy along here, we can start to see some of the other goodies. We've got twin Kohler 20 kilowatt generators here. They are sitting on top of a Seakeeper E18 gyroscopic stabilizer, so that'll stop the boat rolling around at anchor. We've got twin fuel tanks on either side. I believe these are 3,000 litres each. So you've got 6,000 litres of fuel. You've got a sight gauge there, so you can physically see what the fuel. We've got multiple filters on each tank, so you've always got redundancy. You can change one, flip it over to the other while you're cleaning it. Have a little crawl along here. You can see the third of those engines over on the starboard side. Another fuel tank on this side. Electronics cupboard there. See the exhaust. These are the exhausts for the generators. The exhaust for the engines further behind us. And just at the foot of the steps here, you can see there is also a water maker. Now, I'm told that at a cruising speed of 20 knots, these engines will drink around about 200, 220 litres of fuel between them. So for a boat of this size, that's actually not too bad. And that's one of the advantages of having smaller engines. First of all, it allows for a bigger tender garage above it because the engines aren't so tall, but also the efficiency of those IPS drives just mean there's less drag than a shaft drive boat. So you should get slightly better fuel efficiency. Now, I just wanted to explain very briefly a bit more about this watch it system because it is unique to Azimut at the moment. And the way it works is it is hooked up to all the boat's key systems. So anything that is likely to cause or could potentially cause a collision, it is hooked up to. So it's the AIS system, it is the depth sounder, it is the charting, the GPS, and they also have their own bespoke radar system. And all of those are fed into a AI-powered computer that will take all of them into account and alert you of any immediate danger. So cleverly, it knows exactly how to prioritize those, and it will show you, there are little icons that show if it's an underwater obstacle, or if it's a depth, if you're moving into a shallow area. If there's an obstacle above the waterline, it's apparently will recognize anything down to a sort of buoy for a little fishing net or a fish pot, obviously man overboard, anything like that, and small ships right down to kayaks. And although it is linked to all these systems, it also has its own independent speaker. So as soon as there is a problem, particularly if it's an imminent danger, it will actually announce it. It'll say, watch it, danger of grounding, or watch it, man overboard ahead, whatever it may be, it will announce it. So that even if you're listening to any other system or got any other charting system, it'll overrule that, you can hear it. It won't actually slow the boat down, that is for you to do. And crucially, you can also turn it off. If you're entering a marina and you don't want to be cluttered with noise of what's going on, obviously there are loads of boats around you, you can turn it off too. You've also got an anchoring system, so you can set up your own anchoring alert, and that will keep track and obviously let you know if you've drifted. But really clever that it recognizes what the threat is, it prioritizes the one that you need to know about, and it announces it clearly to you so that you know what to look for and how to prevent it happening.